In this video, I want to talk about Season 2 Reloaded for Modern Warfare 3 Zombies. I want to talk about this more so less from a news perspective and more so from an opinion perspective. Now, the thing I want to talk about in this video is there has been a big debate in the community ever since Zombies DLC moved to being free within Cold War Zombies, and the entire time I have been totally on board with free DLC. I think that Black Ops Cold War had a solid post-launch support. There were droughts, especially between Firebase C and MW3, and although Outbreak got content, of course, in between, for those who just wanted round-based, there wasn't really much for you. However, I really strongly believe that Cold War Zombies would have pretty much gotten the exact same amount and caliber of support, regardless of whether the DLC would have been free or whether it would have been paid. And I also think it's just good that DLC is free now because it opens up the Zombies community to a much wider player base. It's so much of the reason as to why multiplayer fans, and especially Warzone fans, considering that's free, are jumping over and trying out Zombies now to level up weapons, etc. And I think if there was a price tag locking that content, they wouldn't be jumping in. However, there is a caveat with paid DLC, and so far I haven't really been too on board with this, but as you see within the trailer that we've gotten for this Season 2 Reloaded update, it's all branded as free content update, and I think the reason why they're especially marketing it in this way is because, well, of course they want people to know it's free so they don't have to pay it, and you're more inclined to try it out if it's free and at least give it a shot. And that seems to be the general consensus for this update. I think that a lot of people will try it out, they'll do the new story mission to get the new cutscene, which should be good, but then they'll probably not really touch it again after that. People might just use the mode to just continue leveling up weapons and, you know, grinding out camos if that's what you do, but if you're not interested in that, like I said, I think most fans are just going to try out the new story mission and then go back to waiting for COD 2024 Zombies. But I think the free content update allows them to basically have the excuse, as since so many people are critical of this update having so little content, you know, it basically tells the fans, you know, you can't really be mad, it's free, you can just hop in and try it regardless, and basically you're just being entitled if you're criticizing or complaining. You can't criticize it in the same way as if it is a paid for experience, and yes, that is true, but at the same time, Modern Warfare 3 in general is a paid for experience. I really think Modern Warfare 3 Zombies should have been free to play. I think it's the perfect mode to be free to play like DMZ, and I think it probably would have been free to play if DMZ was more successful. Since it was free to play and then they started adding in pay for advantage bundles, that seems to suggest it wasn't profiting enough. And that's another point that I want to mention, is that Activision are making way more money now via the bundles and the battle passes and the microtransactions than they ever have before. Way more money than they would if they were selling this content as DLC packs. You can argue you're just being entitled since it's free content and nothing is better than anything, they're doing it for free, but they're not really doing it for free because they are still profiting in the form of microtransactions. It's just that to actually access the content, you don't have to pay for these things. But even though a small percentage of the people are buying the microtransactions, it makes up to so much revenue for them, and it supplements them massively because there's massive whales that buy pretty much every single bundle, every single battle pass, and that's making them so much money. So they are still profiting immensely, and it is in their best interest to release good updates because they have good updates, more people are playing the game, more people are inclined to buy bundles and battle passes, etc., whereas they're not inclined if the updates are mediocre. So it's really only hurting them in that sense. But yeah, they have the budget to be having good updates. Of course, recently Microsoft unfortunately fired a load of employees and stuff like that, but they are profiting massively. Activision's revenue is up this year, so is Microsoft's, and yet they're still laying people off. And it seems like a lot of developers have moved on to COD 2024 Zombies, but they definitely are making the revenue to supplement the support for this content. So most likely Modern Warfare 3 Zombies is not doing as successful as needed, and also COD 2024 Zombies needs more work and they need all hands on deck there. And I am still totally in favor of free DLC. I think DLC should be free. However, I just think the way Activision are handling Zombies is largely affected by the fact that this DLC is free, because back in the day when we had a season pass, we were guaranteed 4 DLC maps as a part of the terms and conditions for that. You know, yes, the quality of those could still be low, but the thing is you could also buy these DLC maps individually. Of course, you would get access to the multiplayer maps as well, but most Zombies fans just bought them for the Zombies maps, so there was still a massive incentive for these maps to be good because they needed to be good, because it would boost the sales of people buying these individual map packs just through word of mouth. But then, of course, it changed in Black Ops 4 the last time we had paid for DLC, and that was because the sentiment in the gaming community was changing. Lots of stuff started becoming free due to the success of Fortnite, especially being a free-to-play experience and then having the skins that was supplementing all of their revenue. That's what changed the formula for Call of Duty, but the difference with Call of Duty is they still have a paid-for experience every year. Yes, Warzone is free, but that is it. If you are still paying for the paid-for experience, it doesn't make a difference to you. So they're trying to basically do both formulas, the free-to-play formula as well as the paid-for formula simultaneously. And if you just play Warzone, fair enough, it's basically a similar system to Fortnite, but if you're also paying, then it's a completely different system because they're doing the free-to-play model and the paid-for model simultaneously. Like I said, they changed in Black Ops 4 and they had the Black Ops Pass, and basically this meant is you couldn't buy the DLC maps individually or the map packs individually, you could only buy all of it or nothing. And this meant that as soon as people locked in those sales, especially because people just bought the Black Ops Pass before the game even came out because they got access to Classified, for example, as soon as you had paid for that, it didn't matter about the rest of the content being good because it wouldn't affect the sales. And I think that's probably what happened to the latter end of Black Ops 4's life cycle. A lot of the post-launch content got scrapped because they apparently wanted to do a second season pass the following year. We were supposed to get more Chaos and Ether maps, and then Alpha, Omega, and Tag Ito, and whilst I think they were always planned to be remakes, it was definitely affected by a lack of budget. Of course, we got the animated cutscenes. Things just ended very poorly with that game, whilst I think the actual ending cutscene itself, at least story-wise and thematically, was the most fitting conclusion they could do to the Ether story. Definitely a lack of budget affected that, and I wonder if we didn't have the Black Ops Pass, and if you could buy these maps individually, it could have changed Activision's plans, but who knows, we don't know exactly how things go behind the scenes. And they did actually put out a tweet sharing a similar sentiment, and lots of people were coming at me, but to be honest, from everyone's responses, they didn't exactly refute what I was saying. They were just giving conjecture and their own personal opinion, just as I was giving my own personal opinion. We cannot say neither side for certainty how the change from paid DLC to free DLC has affected these games, and it definitely would have affected them in some way. To say that it absolutely has had no effect at all is just entirely naive, and I know this because I used to make the same arguments. Throughout Cold War Zombies, many people were against free DLC because they were saying Cold War Zombies DLC maps lacked in atmosphere and quality, but I think in that case, the DLC content would have remained practically the same regardless of whether it was free DLC or whether you had to pay for map packs, and that's because it followed a similar DLC model to usual, because we had 3 round-based maps post-launch, and then we had Outbreak essentially replacing one of them. So if they did it as a paid DLC season, then it still would have worked out exactly the same. There would have been 4 different map packs you can purchase. But Modern Warfare 3 Zombies' model, I think, would have never worked and never even released if there was paid DLC. I think Modern Warfare 3, being the fact that it is an extraction shooter, just would have never released with paid DLC, because how would they implement paid DLC in this? They're obviously not going to charge for each of the little Dark Ether rifts they're adding each season and these very minor updates. No one would buy that. It's just not substantial content enough to buy it, and it doesn't seem like any new maps like Fortune's Keep or Rebirth Island are coming to Zombies, and if so, again, they probably wouldn't charge for that. I mean, they're literally in Zombies anyways, so the entire model of Modern Warfare 3 Zombies has to be free, and that's why I think the mode just would have never even released to begin with if there wasn't free DLC. So like I said, to say that there is absolutely no effect or change in how they produce and release the post-launch content depending on how they monetize the content is just naive. And like I said, we don't know exactly how the ripple effects of the monetization change has affected the content schedule for these games, because if the monetization changes drastically from Activision's side, of course they're going to have to schedule things differently to work around that and compensate for that to be the most cost effective. So yes, I don't think it impacted Cold War Zombies at all, and I used to make the same argument when people would be against free DLC in Cold War Zombies, and I want to make it clear, I still want free DLC. Like I said before, there is absolutely no scenario I want to go back to paid DLC unless it's something like Zombies Chronicles 2, where there's just some sort of big expansion featuring a bunch of past maps or a bunch of content, even new content. If it's some massive release like that, fair enough, we can do a paid for expansion, but in terms of regular content, I don't want that to be paid for. I don't want a return of a season pass or anything like that. I'm just saying that you have to weigh up the pros and cons. There are caveats to free DLC now, like I've outlined in this video. Does it mean I want paid DLC to return? Absolutely not. Free DLC is the best way to go. It gets the most amount of players playing the mode, because previously people would be less inclined to enjoy the DLC because it was locked behind a paywall. So this opens up the mode to a much wider audience and allows people to play with friends without them needing to purchase something which might deter them. And of course, they make way more money from microtransactions, so there's no need for them to charge for this anyways. And of course, the more people trying out the free content means more people buying microtransactions as well, hence they're making more money in the long run. So I thought I would clear the air on this. I want free DLC. That is what I want, but there are caveats and there are drawbacks to free DLC, and to ignore that and to act like this is a black and white issue like people are doing is just being stubborn. I think there is nuance to this conversation. It's not as clear as free DLC good, paid DLC bad, paid DLC bad, free DLC good. There's pros and cons to each, and it's a lot more complicated than meets the eye. And we don't know exactly the uncertainty between the two. And people saying Modern Warfare 3 Zombies is only being affected in this way because of the recent layoffs. Well, the layoffs only happened a week before Season 2 was announced, so I doubt it changed anything immediately like that. And whilst yes, the layoffs have impacted things, still, like I was explaining before, if there was paid DLC for Modern Warfare 3, the content schedule would be entirely different. It probably wouldn't have even been an extraction shooter to begin with, and we would probably getting big package updates as opposed to, you know, small little updates that are just never going to be paid for ever, because none of the updates Modern Warfare 3 has and is probably ever going to receive would ever constitute for a paid for experience. I hope that makes sense. But in conclusion, I do want to continue to see free DLC. I don't think we should ever go back to the paid DLC model, but there is a caveat to this, because we can end up with situations like Modern Warfare 3 Zombies where if the mode is underperforming or if resources are required elsewhere like they are with COD 2024, they can easily just divert that and just kind of abandon the project or just have little content for it because they have more important stuff planned as opposed to making sure it's finished up. Anyways, that's all I wanted to say in this video. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below as always. Hopefully things change with COD 2024 Zombies and we get a really substantial post-launch support, especially because they've had so long to work on this game. But I do worry with COD 2025 having round-based zombies apparently just a year after that could also be impacted in a similar way to how Modern Warfare 3 Zombies is. But anyways, thank you for watching the video. Make sure to subscribe if you're not here for some great Call of Duty news and information. So anyways, thank you for watching and bye.